Welcome, VDL people and other people that might be watching. Don't know who those would be. Maybe your mom and dad. Sakimoto here. I've got Goomy. Goomy is a Goomy 2020 here.
It is Goomy 2020. Yeah, hello.
Goomy 2020 here. We are going to go over the Week 5 games and, just talk about stuff and then go through the top 24 list and the rankings and what we think. And if you think it's rigged, well,
Probably is.
it is. So you're right. You're smart. And these are just our opinions. So whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll talk about. Why am I always at the? I'm always at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Like I'm always the first game to talk about. And I don't know why that is.
So I actually think that from what I've seen, it's actually based on divisions, the matches. So I think there's one division that almost always goes first, and I believe that's your division. So it just so happens that you get first a lot.
I don't know why it is. I don't know why it is, but I don't mind. I don't mind talking about my game. So, and I think Gumi, you have the game stats pulled up if we need them.
Yep, for sure. Got them.
Well, I played this one, and it was a crazy one, so I do have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I guess you can get it. Give your input too. But so I played Matrix and the Welsh Warlords, and wow, what a set! I have a lot to say. I'm mainly going to talk about Game 3, but just to go over it, Game 1. I ended up using the Gardevoir won me the game. Essentially, I tricked the choice scarf on the Finny when I was trying to set up. It worked out for me really, really well. I think the Encore Tech from Raichu spiced things up, but ultimately Gardevoir came back in later in the game and traced the Lightning Rod, and there really wasn't much for Matrix to do at that point. He couldn't set up his Finny, and he couldn't do anything he couldn't touch Politoed with the Raichu. So that kind of won me the game 1. And then, and it was actually physical Raichu, it was Volt Tackle Raichu. So, and I could have rocked my Politoed. That actually would have been big trouble for me. But then Game 2 and Game 3 were somewhat similar in the sense that we had this really tricky end game where ultimately Finny can set up with Calm Mind and be very, very hard for my team to take down since I'm mainly special attackers. And it had the leftovers Calm Mind set up. Now, my answer to the Finny was Sludge Bomb Dragalge. But the awkward part was Steelix beats Dragalge pretty badly. It doesn't, no damage from Sludge Bomb. It rocks the Dragalge. And then, when I have Politoed sitting on the field, it's really hard for the Steelix to feel safe. But at the same time, if he can just get rid of the Dragalge, the Finny can 1v1 the Politoed. So we had this really weird endgame. It was really tricky. Basically, my Dragalge was trying to get rid of that Finny, and the Steelix was trying to get rid of my Dragalge quick enough and keep the Finny alive. And then my Politoed was trying to take out the Steelix. So, Game 2, we got into a scenario. I think there were a couple reads at the end. I'm kind of biting myself for not going for the Scald. I think that was absolutely the right. It was a 50-50 read, but in hindsight, I talked to Goomer about it, and he was like, it was a 50-50, but I think you were way, way, way safer going for that. Or it was... Yeah. So I was kicking myself for that. But Matrix makes the right call, goes for the curse, takes me out, yada, yada. I don't know if you watched the game. Game 3 gets crazy because... Man, Game 3 gets crazy. Matrix plays the early game really, really well. He reads the Politoed Protect. He takes out the Raikou. The Bouffalant Cofagrigus lead is really annoying for my team. I think I made a couple bad turns in the beginning, and I got behind. And then it's Politoed and Dragalge sitting out there. And with just a sliver of health left, the Cofagrigus takes a big Weather Ball and then goes for a Destiny Bond. So it's really, really awkward for me. And at that point, just so people know, that was the game on the line. And I had to read the ally switch with the Dragalge. I had to read it with essentially both my mods. I had to 100% call the ally switch because if Matrix goes for the ally switch and I don't make the read, I lose the game. There is no way that, like, Finny set up, there's no way Dragalge's gonna be able to chunk it down 2 hits before that Steelix comes in and takes it out. If I don't read that, I lose. At the same time, if he doesn't ally switch and I make the read that he does, I lose as well. So it really came down to just that. Luckily, I did make that read, and I actually timed out and went for the Muddy Water, which was kind of sad. It was lucky because he went for the ally switch, right? And and that was a pretty good, Muddy Water's a pretty nice play to do into that. But I actually think I would have preferred to protect there. I actually think I would have been in better position, so the Steelix didn't get a free switch in. So sort of fortunate for me that he did ally switch, but also sort of unfortunate that I timed out. But
yeah,
I don't know. Then we get into the end game, and Matrix is just in really good position. I actually tried to read a protect, unfortunately, and I didn't go for the sledge bomb on it. So again, Matrix makes a really good call. Goes, he attacks my Polytoad and he misses. And then, because the Muddy Water accuracy drops, and then at the very end of the game, heartbreaking for Matrix, he misses the Moonblast on the Dragalge, and I'm able to get rid of the Finny before he can take me out. Big time heartbreak at the end for that miss. I'm going to say it as a hot take, and he might hate me for this. I think it was hacks. How I won the end of that game. I don't think it was the craziest hacks.
Yeah.
I think the really fortunate part was, because ultimately if a game comes down to one accuracy drop and one miss, I don't think that's the wildest thing. But at the same time, it's the game on the line, literally last turn of the set.
Yeah.
If I was Matrix, I'd be pissed. And it was hacks. But, I missed I missed almost a third of my Muddy Waters. Luckily for me, they weren't the most relevant misses at the moments. And I think me and Matrix, we talked about this a lot. And I think we determined that the only misses, either from Muddy Waters or from accuracy drops on Matrix having missing moves, the only one that really mattered was that very last one. And unfortunately, he missed it, and he kind of gets hacks for the loss. I don't know. It was a roller coaster of a set. There were many times where I felt like I didn't make the best plays, and Matrix outplayed me, and I felt like I should have lost. But luckily, the Muddy Water accuracy drop kind of. Oh, I'm sorry, Matrix. But yeah. I don't know. That's all.
It was definitely a really close set. I was watching that last play where there was the Moonblast miss, and it was a very crazy ending. I think the one thing is that it was weird because you said you weren't planning on going for the Muddy Water when you timed out. So having that accuracy drop, in a sense, was also like having the timeout, having the accuracy drop, and going for the Muddy Water when you wanted to protect was also a bit lucky, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
At the same time, again, I think you were in a better position had you protected there. And I'm actually curious to see how that would have played out, how that happened. But Matrix is a great team, and he prepped incredibly well. Overall, really good set and crazy close finishes on that last game. So
yeah, and what I'll say is, I walk away with a 2-1, but I feel like the matchup was pretty much a tie. It really came down to, it was so damn close, and we both played it pretty dang well for the most part. I don't feel like, we both need the wins for our records, but I don't feel like as far as I don't know, I wouldn't walk away as Matrix and say that he played bad or anything. I felt like it was,
oh yeah, for sure,
he deserves the win essentially as much as I do. So but yeah, enough about my match. The Ice Qs. The Ice Qs pick up the 2-0 over the drowsy Dracosults, who were a pain for me the week prior, and but the Ice Qs contained them pretty well.
Pretty interesting match. I was really happy to see Credili come. Love that mon, so good. We actually talked about that in DMs. Love that mon, so good. Anyway, so Crocodile put in some work in that game 1 against this team, and it actually looks pretty solid. It gets beats Dusknoir, which is one of his best Rickham setters, and can hit almost everything for at least neutral. So was a really good bring from Gert's part to get that Crocodile, put in some work in 1 where he got 2 kills with it. And then game 2, I mean, Cresselia and Blaze King Credelia all got kills. But yeah, he was able to capitalize on his positioning, and Cresselia picking up a couple kills for the win. So, yeah, nice stuff from Gert getting the 2-0 over the Drakazol, who I think have been playing pretty solidly, right? They've gotten some good stuff. They, again, yeah, as you said, they took a game from you, and beat Sam, which is really hard. So, definitely a good one from Gert.
I agree, and I know you're a big fan of Gert and his team this season. I think, and I mean, I'm on that train as well. Gonna be honest, I think the Drowsy Drakazolts being 1-4, I don't think that the record is representative accurately of how good of a team or player they are.
Yeah,
I think they're a very scary team, and I think they can beat anybody. They have a tricky team to use, and
yeah.
I don't know. It makes games interesting. They just haven't had the best, haven't closed out the sets.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, speaking of Sam and the Sableyes,
Yeah.
Sableyes and Rabombi had. Oh man, if I can remember this one. This was a great set.
Yeah.
The Jigglypuff, very notable in this matchup. It was just awesome. It's not like every week you look at the matchup and you're like, oh man, Jigglypuff looks so good here. But
Yeah.
Jigglypuff looks great. And one of the things I like about it is it has one of the only ways to really limit the output of Urshifu damage because, I mean, Friend Guard, you can't crit through Friend Guard. So it's that was really, really nice. I'm a huge fan of the Roserade set.
Yeah.
And I felt like this match was just crazy. Game one, I'm trying to remember what happened. Rabombi won game one, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I forget how he did it exactly. The blunder. The blunder. The substitute in front of the Snarl Mandibuzz.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that. That was kind of crazy. I actually didn't realize Snarl went through substitute, and then seeing that happen in game one, where if I was in Sam's position, I'd think like, yeah, I might be able to bring this back because it was pretty close. But then the Snarl going through substitute was big.
I thought I don't know for sure if Sam would have won if he not substituted, but he looked like he was in pretty good position, and I really like the Toxic. I really like that he was like, screw it, I don't need anything else with Dazzling Gleam. I'll just run Dazzling Gleam, I'll run Toxic. And you don't really expect a Roserade to run a bulky set like that, so I thought it was really sneaky and really nice. And then plus you got the Friend Guard to be annoying with, and it was, I really liked that. I thought it was brilliant. And then, but Sam did pull out game two.
Mm-hmm. With that Jigglypuff. So he didn't actually bring it game one. But game two, he brought the Friend Guard Eevee-like Jigglypuff, which really good, man. And pairing that with Mudsdale, especially, and being able to live a bunch of hits and get some KOs was really, really solid.
Oh, that's right. The Mudsdale was a monster. Because, and Batista had this nice up front, like, was it Malamar that was just boosting its offenses and its defense?
Yeah.
But that Mudsdale, like, it was just eating that triple axle. After a couple defense boosts, it ate a triple axle, no problem. And it just had like max defense. It was just body pressing and doing so much damage. Yeah. I really like the set that the Sableyes brought. And you know what? The Sableyes played against the Mono Poison team, and they gave Batista some trouble last season. I feel like Sam really approaches the monotype matchup from Batista. He approaches it really well. But then Batista, the Encore Sableye just went nuts game 3.
Yeah, man, it went in.
It really did. And I think Sam played around it fairly well, because I mean his Jigglypuff got Encored into helping him, which honestly isn't that bad. Like,
yeah.
So he tried to use that to his advantage, I think. But I think the Rabombi just clutched it out. That the Encore was so super annoying, and he was able to open up so many opportunities with it because Sableyes just like couldn't protect. They couldn't.
Yeah.
And it felt really awkward to do a lot of moves that they didn't want to keep having to do.
Yeah. And I thought what you said about Sam prepping for monotype teams is really important because, I've seen many people go up against Batista and just put on super effective moves, and that's not the way to beat Batista, right? And so even in a season where Sam's maybe a little bit weaker, he just has a bit more of a Mimi team, stuff like that. He still showed how important good prep is against Batista and his mono team, and he put up a good showing for 1-4 team. So yeah, really really good set, really close match. But Batista clutching it out with that game 3 and Sableye just going in.
Yep. Super well. About I think two teams that like you can never count them out. And at the very moment when you start to doubt their ability to make big plays or have a sneaky prep, that's when you lose, because then that's when they do it. Yeah, I thought it was a really entertaining match. I very much enjoyed watching that one.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, well, what do we think about this next match? The Trixie Tricos go up against the Beantown Binacles, both 3-1 at the time. Kind of a big match. A little sad for Theo turn 1. His torpedo went down very fast, and I thought that was a good bring with was it a Scarf? Yeah, it was Scarf.
Scarf Thundy. Yeah. Which, man, I love Scarf Thundy. We all know this. I love Thundy. I love Scarf. Put them together. Love Scarf Thundy, right? And yeah, I mean, was a really really good bring for Otto, and it put in some work. Getting that Barracuda game 1, and just hits a lot of Theo's team pretty well, right? So, one of the things I found playing Theo was if you can find a couple of strong moves that really just go in, you can actually do some damage. So I had Sharpedo, and I had Liquidations in the Rain, and that just looked really, really good against Theo. So I think it was really smart on Otto's part to just bring something. Hey, it looks good for Barracuda, but it can also just pack massive damage and gets coverage for both Coco and Alolan Raichu, which would be problems. So, I mean, yeah, again, 3 kills game 1, and I thought was a really, really solid bring.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Theo definitely has better thumbnails. I love his thumbnails, I have to say.
He has great stuff, yeah.
And I think game 1 was, I don't think he expected the Scarf Thunderous, and I didn't watch his side of the match. If he didn't expect that and he just went for a big play and his Barracuda went down, that's pretty hard to come back from. So I'm not surprised to hear that he lost game 1 or see that he lost game 1. To be honest, I don't remember much about game 2.
Yeah, I remember seeing some Unpheasant action game 2. And that was Otto's thumbnail was Unpheasant going in with the Brave Bird.
Oh, that's right.
So it got a kill. I believe was the Scope Lens crit set, which Super Luck, which is pretty solid.
I like it. I like that set a lot. And Unpheasant is not weak. I think it has 110 attack power or something.
Oh yeah,
it's something good. Yeah, it's pretty strong. So yeah, and if you're getting a crit Brave Bird, that's kind of nutty.
It's 115 base attack, and Brave Bird is 120 base power, and then you bring in Scope Lens, Super Luck, and that's strong, man. That's really strong.
I mean, you're essentially like if you get a crit, it's essentially like Choice Band. So it's like a Choice Band 120 power stab move. That's hurting. That's hurting.
Hurting bad, man.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I like Unpheasant. Beantown Binacles, though, they've gotten their second loss in a row, but lost to two of the top teams. Still think they're looking really good.
For sure.
Yeah. And I like how they utilize all their mons and they analyze matchups and they know what mons they need to bring against what. I think the Tricos just had. I mean, we all know Otto's top player, and really really intense match from two really good teams.
For sure.
The next match, was another fun one. The Arcanines pick up their first set win over the Manatees, who are still looking for theirs. But the Manatees do pull away with a game. They won game one, and they put the pressure on the Arcanines, who came back and won 2-1. And the Manatees had, clearly their game plan was, hey, if I triple freeze the Arcanines, I can win.
We're good, dude.
We're so good. And the game plan worked to perfection. Turn one, or a game one, perfection. The 3 ice punches in a row, 3 freezes. That's hard to come back from. But I did find it interesting that Dan went for the Grassy Glide and the Azumarill. Maybe that's something I wouldn't do. Game one, it's actually not the worst idea, but judging from the damage that the Azumarill did on, I forget what move it went for turn one, it almost was evident that it was not huge power. It was Sap Sipper. So I was like, it's obviously Sap Sipper. But Dan went for the Grassy Glide anyway and was like, you know what, we're going to find out for sure. And I don't necessarily mind that play. I think with an Azumarill, it'd be really, really strange. Like, an Azumarill next to Rage Powder is your only redirection. I feel like it'd be really strange for the Manatees to go with a Belly Drum huge power set against a Rillaboom in that position. That would be, like, a little crazy.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and, Dan was looking pretty solid in game one. So I feel like going for that information really isn't a horrible move, right? I agree. I don't necessarily think that'd be like, my first choice. The thing I do find interesting is that he only brought grass moves and then Fake Out Protect on his Rillaboom, right? Because I'm thinking I see an Azumarill, and I'm just like, I'm hesitant to pack only grass moves and then Fake Out,
Mm-hmm.
So I did find that a little interesting, especially because I don't know. I think I would have packed like something extra, but that game one triple freeze bed. I was laughing pretty hard when I saw that. It was crazy. But then Dan came back. Vanillux getting 4 KOs in game 2, which was crazy. And then that Silvally Electric I thought was actually pretty nice. Especially because yes, he did have that Rillaboom. And he definitely respected Sap Sipper Azumarill in prep. And so Volley was a great way to deal damage against that Azumarill. So I thought that was actually a really solid bring from Dan, was that Silvally Electric. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid prep from Dan. And yeah, he played pretty well and getting his first win, which he 100% deserves. So
absolutely. And I will mention that's not the first week he's brought the Silvally Electric, and the thing I like about it is multi-attack is like I think the second strongest physical electric move in the game. The only thing that's stronger, I think, is a Bolt Beak. So you don't see that often. You don't see a lot of Wild Charge out there. That's very useful. So that physical powerful electric is pretty niche, and I like it.
Yeah. And against Manatee's team, it does look really solid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they got the Celesteela.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and especially with like Pikachu and stuff and Lightning Rod, right? Having something else on a Mon, like Silvally Electric, has plenty of coverage moves. So I can't remember exactly what he brought, but yeah, it does give you some leeway there. And I'm not sure he has any other electric Mons on his team. So it wasn't really like it was on the Manatee's radar. So again, it was just a really smart bring from Dan.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. So Dan picks up his first win. Let's see if he can finish out the season 4-4. Yep. Manatees still looking for their first win. Well, let's go to. Well, I guess we're skipping over your game. You didn't play yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Tyler got sick with COVID, and so we couldn't play. But gonna be a good match. Excited for that one.
Yep. I bet it's gonna be a thriller. Well, let's talk about. We'll probably have 2 games of yours to talk about next week. So let us not forget. This next game, sort of a trend we're seeing. The Royal Kingdras pick up a 2-0 over the Darmanitan's. The reason I say it's a trend is because Darmanitan's, I don't think they play that bad. They just have not been able to win sets. And the
Yeah.
Royal Kingdoms are hot right now.
Yeah. 3-0 right now, right? They went 0-2, and then they're now 3-2 with a 3-game win streak against Goomer and Lucian, I think. And now Celestia.
So they beat great players. The
Yeah.
Registeel's insane. We can talk about that later. But they also have the best possible differential for a 3-2 team. So they've won all their games 2-0, and they've only lost 2 1s. So I believe. Yes, because I think they're a +4. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember this one. If I'm going to be honest. What the Kingdoms bring?
I just remember Registeal, and man, that mod's so good, dude. Registeal in S10. So I've been using Registeal in the game room, which is another league, and I played Lucian this week, and I've just realized how good Registeal is in a max format. And Dylan with Royal Kingdoms has been using it incredibly well. And it looks really good in this matchup as well. So like game 1, for example, Calopsia brought Hippowdon, Ensign, and Metagross, right? And for Ensign, you have Pelipper, and you also get Scalds into super effective Scalds into Hippowdon and Incineroar, and you have the potential to burn Metagross. So you can just like start setting up iron defenses. And what's really nice is you can get leftovers. There is also a rest sleep talk strat, which I've been using with Registeal, which is really cool. So, yeah, it just looked really good into his team. Game 1, it went in. And then the thing about Calopsia's team that he brought was 4 of 6 mons were weak to fighting, which with an iron defense body press Registeal really was pretty bad.
It's a nightmare.
And yeah, and then only Spritzy resisted an iron defense body press. So if you just get Registeal going, then Spritzy has Amphad syndrome, which is all my friends are dead syndrome. And yeah, you can kind of just win from there. So really solid from Calopsia. Or from Dylan, and really great recognition on that Registeal set.
That's it. Well, so we're gonna see. Who can. This Registeal might not die until playoffs, and then it still might not die. I feel like if someone can figure out really how to contain the Registeal, then, which I mean, there are ways to do it, but Dylan's.
But it's hard.
But it's hard, and just because you know how to that's what I keep saying. It's just because you know what it does, and you know what and it can sit out there in front of your face. You know what the biggest threat is. The threat's the setup and the body press and the stall and the wall. That doesn't mean you can beat it. That doesn't mean you can get in position to do well against it. And the Kingdoms are doing a really good job of utilizing it.
Yeah.
Speaking of another wall, Rebellion. I don't know if they used the Blissey this week. Against, I feel like they did against the Brisbane Blaziken. Yeah, they definitely did.
They did.
And the Blaziken looking so good. They fell to the Blissey Thwacky classic combo that Rebellion's been using this season. They fell game 2, but game 1, they came out there and they did work. I think they had the Duraludon this week. They definitely had Entei. I feel like the Rotom was really was really relevant in game 1. Who did they need that for? I kept thinking the Rotom was so crucial in this matchup.
Yeah, so there's Vaporeon, which to me is just crazy. Yeah. Yeah, the Rotom mode was interesting. I thought it did look really good into Lucian's team. Because game 1 he brought Blissey, Regieleki, Thwacky, and Vaporeon. And the thing about that is Thwacky and Blissey don't necessarily have much damage, especially against a Rotom mode. Mm-hmm. And once you get rid of Vaporeon and Regieleki, you have things like Entei and Piloswine that can really start putting stuff up versus that Thwacky and Blissey, right?
Yep.
So M just played that really well, understanding what needed to die and then how they could get rid of that Blissey, right? So solid game from M's that game 1. And then, game 2, Lucian coming back, Blissey stuff. He also had huge at that game. But then M's closing it out in close fashion.
Ems has been a force this season.
Yeah.
And like they really have. Their team has been so solid, and they have such a good core. It kind of reminds me of Otto's team, where Otto says he's like, man, these like 4 or 5 Pokemon just look so consistently good together all like every week. It's kind of how
Mm-hmm.
the Blazikens are. They just have like the Entei, Rotom, Duraludon, Clefable, Blastoise look so good all the time. And they've been mixing it up in little ways, but overall, like prepping for those Pokemon is really hard.
Yeah.
And then you have to dedicate so much to those, and then like they might not even bring one of them, and they might bring some other ones, and then I don't know, they just their games look so solid, and I think they have a really
Yeah.
strong team. I really like the draft, and they're playing well. So
Yeah.
I guess let's move
For
on
sure.
to the Porygons, who started the season undefeated, but they've picking up a couple losses in the last couple weeks. Chad, is that his name? Chad?
Yeah.
And
Chad.
the Sun Warriors, they they take the 2-0. You want to talk about this one?
Yeah. This is really solid. I've seen a lot of Chad in some other leagues, and he's a really solid player. I think in VDL you tend to start out the season a little bit rough if you're new. So Chad had a bit of a rough start, but he has been looking really good, and he actually had some nice reads. So I can't remember if which game it was, but I believe he used Heat Wave with Ninetales into a Cinderace, predicting an Iron Head into Tapu Lele, right? And I thought Executor was nice, not necessarily the best spring, but didn't pick up any KOs and stuff, but looks really good into Marowak, looks really good into Suicune, and can really just be a beast, especially with that Ninetales and that Chlorophyll stuff. And then Ninetales, man, put in work. It actually looks really good against the Porygons team, because you have those things like Solar Beam against the Suicune. You can get rid of Tapu Lele, which it feels like Porygons needed Tapu Bulu because Tapu Lele is so good on Chad's team, right? And none of the mons that the Porygons brought resisted a Tapu Lele hit, other than Iron Head Cinderace, right? So it was really smart to bring something like Ninetales that could get rid of the biggest threat to your biggest threat, right? So was just really, really solid prep on Chad's part, and he made some really good plays and was able to take that win.
I really, really liked the Executor. Like that was probably my favorite part about the match. Was the utilization of the Executor. I had Executor a couple seasons back when we had Dynamax, and I didn't use it much, but the one match I brought it to, it was awesome. It did great.
Yeah.
And I loved, and it works so well on Chad's team because he has Psychic Terrain for Expanding Force and Sun. So good.
Yeah.
I love that he recognized that, and then you know what, he didn't put the Life Orb on it. He didn't put the specs on it. He's like, this thing, let's just keep it around. Let's give it the sash, couple moves. It'll just put in some work. We'll probably go down, but it'll do enough to really put on pressure, and the rest of my team can finish it off. Really like how he analyzed that matchup and went for it, and his games are fun to watch. Porygons put up a fight. They are still, they still have a winning record, still doing well. I guess we'll have to see what they have in store in the future. I think I have a really strong team though, like Suicune and Cinderace, and those two, if played well, they can do anything. So, next match, a little bit sad. Little bit of a blunder on the Infernape's part. Either mistargeting that beat up. I think they had a couple options in that scenario, but they went for the beat up, which was the right call, but they just misclicked it and they didn't hit on the Cobalion. So I think that play, if they target the Cobalion, according to what moves were selected that turn, the Infernape's guarantee win that game, I think. But the Mimikyus clutch it out. They clutch out game one, and then they win game two. So the Infernape's fall 0-2 to the Mimikyus.
Yeah. And, I think it's important to talk about, right? Like, the Mimikyus have had a really solid season. And for someone who is right now 0-5, Sosa put up a really solid game, right? And there was that misclick on the beat up. But if I'm Sosa right now, like I see this match, I'm like, okay, I almost took a game off this. Now for one player who has been putting up a really good season, and I'm like, just keep it up, man, because Sosa has had some nice stuff. So yeah, it is what it is. We all make those blunders, but I thought it was a really solid game played, and the Mimikyus uh have had some really nice decks, right? And Galispod doing some work this week, and yeah, I just thought they played pretty well, and ended up with the win, even though their opponents made some mistakes. So.
Yep, I mean, congrats to Mimikyu. They're a hot team right now too. When I think of the hot teams right now, I really think of the Kingdras and the Mimikyus, honestly.
Agreed, for sure.
I don't know, those just they stick out as being hot teams right now. You could make an argument for some other teams, but those are the two that stick out to me. Next set was between the Bolton Bashers and the South Croydon Soars. I was so hyped for this set.
Yeah.
Because Goomer talked to me and he said, I do not like this matchup. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
And then I see what he brought, and I really liked what he brought. And just seeing the game was pretty hype.
Yeah.
I think there are some things I want to mention about this match. I think it was just overall solid play from the Bashers. Like, I think, we've played Pokemon together our whole lives, and we're pretty similar players. But this is something I think that Goomer tends to do better than I do. I think just all around he had super solid play, and I don't really disagree with anything he did. Whereas I think my play has been and is a little inconsistent. Whereas Goomer makes a game plan and he executes really, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my moments, but I just felt like this match was a display of how Goomer can approach a matchup and not look so good, maybe, or and everything all the prep he brings is relevant, and he plays it really well, and he's able to pull it out. And then the other thing I want to mention is that Goomer, I think he said in his video that game one he wasn't necessarily like trying to force a win from his game one prep. He wasn't going for anything super sneaky. He was more trying to just play pretty solid and gain information. I think this is a strategy that is really, I don't know how often it's utilized really, but it's some players have mentioned it. And I know like the Arcanine's going for that Grassy Glide into a almost like 95% certain Azumarill, but just to know for sure is good information, and you kind of have to do that game one. The Infernapes also talked about it. I think one set, I feel like it was maybe against the Gurchins. I forget who it was against, but in their video they talked about, hey, I might not win game one, but game one is really more about information so that I can try to win game 2 and 3. And I think that's a really
exactly.
It's a strategy that I think can be really useful, and I think should be utilized if you think you need it. But yeah, I thought the Croydon Soars had a really good game plan. I liked the bulky Charizard in the sun doing a lot of damage. The scary part about that Liepard is you never know how to prep for it, and it can go Prankster, or it can go the Unburden with the Seed next to the Indeedee, which was just whacking with the Life Orb. And then I just really like how the Bashers played. I think the Gyarados and the Persian sets were really interesting. He ended up... This is how you know that you brought a good set. When you use all 4 of your Pokemon's moves effectively, I feel like that's how you know you brought a pretty good set. And that's what happened with the Gyarados. That's what happened with the Persian. I thought it was really useful. And then the last thing I got to say is Heat more OP.
Yeah. No, my Heatmore and Persian set were fire this week. I had some good brings.
The Goomy, that was really nice prep on your part.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I love Brave.
Yeah, but this was a fire match.
Fire.
This is one of those ones that I wasn't able to watch the premiere, but I was like, I care more about what's happening than the result. Like, I really want to see how this goes. So really hype match to start off. And, I think what you said about that game one was really important because, I think a lot of times my mindset is if I can win game one, I want to win game one. But at the same time, there is that thing of information. And in a hard matchup like this, it was really smart for Goomer to say, hey, what information can I take out? What are the items on Ndidi versus Lightpart? Is Lightpart something like Second Seed? Does Ndidi have Focus Sash? What is Focus Sash? Which Focus Sash is really important in this matchup because Ndidi, Lightpart, and Manectric can all carry Focus Sash pretty easily. And then you have stuff like Life Orb, where is it on Charizard or is it on something else? And so seeing that it was on Ndidi was really solid. So, that game one was very crucial for information. And then, I mean, I think the Soars maybe changed some stuff up in game two, where I don't feel like they needed to change stuff up. But regardless, Goomer still played really well, adjusted, and he was able to take the set really solidly. And one thing we talked about was that white smoke heat more with where Lightpart was snarling it, and it was picking up KOs. And I was like, why is it picking up KOs? And then we realized that since it was white smoke, the snarl wasn't affecting it, and put in some work, man. He more put in some work. So, yeah, I mean, really solid set by Goomer, and honestly, probably one of my favorite sets this entire season. I mean, incredible set.
I would agree.
So,
It was just so close and so down to the wire, and like every little bit of information and every little tech mattered. You never knew what was going to happen at any moment. I mean, one big read could have swung any of the games.
yeah.
And the thing about the white smoke is Goomer didn't realize that till like 2 days ago. He was like, man, the Heatmore's put in work. It was Oko and the Ndidi, and he was like, yeah, in the sun with the snarl, and I was like, we both kind of realized that's essentially a neutral, just a neutral Heatmore flamethrower. That should never KO like Oko and Ndidi. That has decent special defense. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And then he's looking at the calc and he's like, wait, this should never KO. Like, did I cheat? What happened? What's going on? And then he just lets out a big O. I was white smoke. He didn't even realize. So maybe a bit of luck for the Goomer, for the Bolton Bashes. Although I don't think you really run any other ability. Maybe Flash Fire. Does Heatmore get Flash Fire?
In that matchup seems solid.
Yeah, agreed.
But I mean, I feel like he could have brought either one. Like, I felt like both had their place, right?
Yeah.
And I think it would have been different if he had Flash Fire, because you do have those Charizard running Heat Waves. And I can't recall if Soars had their video and if I watched it, but I don't think it had like a flamethrower or anything. So if he had Flash Fire, it also would have been interesting. But that white smoke did come and play. So
absolutely, and I know how stressed out he was about this match because the Croydon Soars have a crazy, like, the team has so much weird sort of synergy they can utilize, and I still like how they're playing. I believe they're 3-2 now. But
yes.
Yeah. Still looking good. But they just weren't able to clutch it out against the Bashers. So, yeah, really good set. I agree. One of the best I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Our next match, Luxury Uxie. They fall 0-2 to the Georgia Gurchins, or the Georgia Gurchins.
Yep.
The Georgia Gurchins. How many ways can I say this wrong? The Gurchins looking hot. I mean, they have, well, they're undefeated. 5-0.
Which is pretty hot.
Yeah. Yep. Which is, it's pretty hot. Not Heatmore hot, but it's pretty hot.
Yeah, pretty solid.
But I feel like what do they lead? The Zapdos. Yeah, I also really enjoy watching their videos.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they led the Meowstic Zapdos game 1, and it was just, man, it's just rough to get through. I think the Uxie tried to set up the double, and he kind of ignored the double for the most part, because Body Press really doesn't hit Zapdos or Meowstic that hard. And so they just kind of went with a scary, Prankstermon plus Zapdos lead, and it was really effective.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were... Sorry, go ahead.
I think that was my main problem with the Uxies, is they didn't have much for Zapdos, right? I mean, I'm looking at this first 4 that he brought, which was Fish, Double, Riolu, and Talonflame. And the only thing that really looks solid is Rickovish. And when you have Meowstic and Zapdos, it's like you can do sunny day heatwave stuff, right? Um, and so I think the main problem with just the Uxi's prep was that they didn't have much for Zapdos, right? Um, but I know Extraction is a really good player. I kind of want to see if he can pull up a win soon. But yeah, I thought the Gurchins just realized that Zapdos looked good, and they capitalized on it, and it won him the game, and it just really looks solid against his entire team. You have Urshifu that gets wrecked by Zapdos. You have Talonflame. You can even run something like Static, which I think is what he ran. And so, you hit with Urshifu, you hit Zapdos 3 times, and there's a really good chance you get Static. So, was just solid prep from Zapdos, and then game 2, you see the Porygon 2 cleaning up. So.
Yeah, I thought it was the Uxie. I don't think I think they can definitely play, and I think they showed that they can. They're not afraid to bring something spicy. At the same time, the Gurchins looking hot, and they continue to look hot.
Yeah.
So I guess it's time for us to move on to our top 24 rankings. Congratulations, everybody! You all made the top 24 in the VDL.
Yeah.
24th, the Infernapes, who I bet on this week. I bet on them, and I was so hyped when they almost won game 1, and then they slipped it up and lost the set. But that's okay. Still think they've got the coolest logo.
Yeah, and they're winning this week. I had a dream, prophetic dream, that they were beating that they were going to beat the Brabambis. So expect to see them higher than 24 next week. But yeah, I think I honestly, looking at this, I don't feel like they should be 24, and I kind of regret putting them 24. But not having a win is kind of rough. But I still think they've had some good stuff. Their trades are fun and interesting, and yeah, I'm kind of excited to see if they can pull out a win here. I think they really can. So we'll see.
I think they can, and they go up against Batista next week, and I don't know why. I just have a feeling that it's going to be such a crazy matchup.
Agreed.
I mean, they'll duke it out. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I think it's going to be a crazy matchup. And I don't know. How reliable are your dreams, Goomy?
Well, so last time I had a dream about VDL was in playoffs, and it was the week of quarterfinals, and it was the day that we were getting our matchups, and I didn't know the matchups, and I was in bed, and I dreamed that I was going to face Colopsia. And I wake up, I check my Discord immediately. I'm like, dude, is it true? And it was true. So, 100% win rate right now.
Is there any chance you've had any dreams about the tartar sauces winning the championship?
No.
Damn it. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you had that dream and you forgot.
I mean, so far it's looking like one dream per season, maybe. So, maybe next season I might have that dream, and I'll let you know immediately, and then we'll be good, dude.
Yes. The instant you have that dream, I hope you have it pre-draft, and I'm going to draft this all tier 5s, and then I'm going to win, because your dream, I'll win with all tier 5s. It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be the best season ever.
Dude, that's a good point. I want to see that. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to number 23. We've got the Massachusetts Manatees. They pick up a game. They're beautiful game plan with the ice punches. Loved it.
Yeah.
I still think they have a solid team. This has not been a hot season for the Manatees, but they just have too scary of a team to you can't discount them, or you can't just go at them and expect to win. They're definitely gonna fight, and they definitely have weapons that they can use. Just haven't squared up against their opponents well, and I mean, they have some really strong picks. I feel like they have a top-heavy team, but I don't know. Let's see. We'll see what they can bring in future weeks.
And obviously, I mean, Taku is a solid player, and I do think he'll pick up a win, right? So I think will happen. And again, we've seen him in past seasons. I think there's just a bit of off season for him, but he's a really solid player. So,
and I think
you said, you can't discount him.
I think he made trades recently, and I like his team a lot better with the trades. So,
agree.
We'll see. Number 22, we've got Luxury Uxie. Again, another logo that I really like.
Yeah, that's actually really nice. Like I like it.
Super. Their team is really interesting. They've got like
Yeah,
a scary, in terms of hyper offense, it's scary good.
yeah,
You could point out some things. I mean, the Colossal I think is super interesting. I like in Series 10, I think it's a wonky mon to use, but hey, I hope they can use it. And he seems like a guy who can use it,
yeah.
who figures out a way to bring like to utilize any Pokemon
Hmm. Yeah,
effectively. Just haven't, like we've said, they haven't picked up a win, so they're down here.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, I played Extrixon a lot. He's a weird name. I played him a lot, and he's good. I mean, he knew coming into the season he probably wasn't going to make playoffs with the differential and stuff, but I've actually liked some of the stuff he's brought. And I think these trades are pretty cool, right? So excited to see what he brings in future weeks. And from my personal experience, I think he'll pick up a win. So
I agree. I would agree, and I will say, wait, what's his name again? I can never say it.
Extrixon,
Extrixon.
yeah,
My first season of VDL, I took over Toots' team, so we're brothers in that sense. We
yeah,
both taken over a Toots team, and it was not a team that I would have drafted, but it was a very fun team and it was a pretty good team. So I just had fun with it, and
yeah,
it was a good time. Let's
yeah.
see. I'm excited to see what they can do in the future. Number 21, the Darmanitans, not having the best season, so they're down
Yeah, for
here,
sure.
but not the worst differential for an 0-5 team. And
Yeah, best of the O5s, I think. So
they're, what I will say is they're fun to watch. And I
Mhm.
think they have like the super pivoty kind of bulky team that we've always talked about. And I don't think I like how they utilize it. I like what they're doing. They're just not closing out games. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've had some like really close 2-1s, right? Which is why they're at 21 because they've had they have the best diff out of all the O5s. So I think so I faced him this week, and I'm not going into it thinking that I got a free win, right? So he's still a good player. I like some of his team, but we'll see how it goes.
Agreed. Wait, you play him this week?
Yeah, I play him this week. It's a interesting match. We talked about this.
Um, dude, Como is just, I want to see Como. I want to see Como do work. I freaking
Yeah,
love that mon.
I really wanted to draft it. It was actually one of my mons I was thinking about going for, but yeah, I kind of want to see what he has.
I absolutely agree. I guess we'll move on to number 20, the Drowsy Dragazolts. Moving on into the 1-4 teams. Like I said before, I don't know. I don't think a 1-4 record is that representational of how good the Dragazolts are.
Yeah,
But we felt some of the other 1-4 teams were stronger. You know, but they're all relatively the same in the same position
yeah,
here. I love Pangoro, and I love draft leagues because they enable Pangoro to actually do
hmm
stuff. I hope I see that in the future.
yeah,
And I do think he's a player that, I don't know. He's got a weird team, and I think we undervalued his team early in the season. And he doesn't have the best record, so maybe some people might say they accurately put him down here, but no, I think he's definitely a competitor.
yeah, yeah. As you said, I think the 1-4s are all pretty close, and honestly, all the 1-4s that I'm looking at are all people who I could see like couple interactions, and they're in they're 3-1, right, or 3-2, so or even like 4-1-5-0. So I again, as you said, this isn't necessarily representative of what his actual skill level is. So yeah, and it's still possible to make a comeback. We've had people go 0-4 and make playoffs. So the fact that he has a 4-loss streak doesn't mean that he's out. So yeah, he's still in it, and I think he can make the comeback.
I think he can. I think he's got a deep team that he knows how to play, and
Mm-hmm.
it is scary if you don't if you don't count for his entire team when prepping. So, yep, we'll see what he can do if he can pull out some wins later in the season. Number 19, the Alexandria Arcanines, picking up a win this week against the Manatees. Still a super solid team.
Yeah.
Maybe they. I don't know. I don't know why they're down here, to be honest. I mean, I know that the record is bad, but I'm trying to think of why. I mean, they've had a pretty rough schedule. I want to see something spicy come out. I want to see the Magneton or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I think that's a good point. Like he's obviously a very good player. He's had close sets against me and Otto, and I think his team is really solid. I think he's one of those teams that can make that comeback, right? And I mean,
yeah, I do.
I mean, he's I played him in a bunch of leagues. He's really, really good. So we'll see how it goes. I think this might be the start of his win streak. So we'll see how it goes. And again, crazy good team. I think it's got a lot of good stuff.
Absolutely. Hard to be confident prepping against this team. I know I was not. Yeah, I agree. Still looking very strong. Number 18, the Sableyes. The Sableyes, I mean, I just think Sam's so good at prep.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a wonky team. He's got the saddle squad, dude. I'm almost jealous, though. I kind of want this team.
Yeah.
And he just he shows that, like, he knows how to play the game. He knows how to get in game, analyze situations, and play around certain situations. He also knows how to bring crazy sets, and I've talked about the difference between this before. You can bring the advantage of bringing a crazy set, or a set that's not very often utilized, or super uncommon, is that you throw your opponent off with a surprise factor. But sometimes that surprise factor isn't quite enough for it to like win you matches. So I think it's hard. It's important to recognize when the surprise factor is just not as good as bringing something standard but strong. And I think the Sableyes understand that, and they brought the weird, Roserade set, and it was really effective. So I think it shows when people bring weird sets, and also they end up being really effective.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, as someone who also likes prepping weird, it can be better to bring a less viable crazy set than a more viable standard set, right? But the thing about Sam is that he knows how to bring very viable, really solid crazy sets, right? And it just it really worked out for him. So props to him. And he's one of those guys who he might have a bad record, but he's still putting up games versus good people. Only person to beat Kurt Bobo, who right now is 4-1, and put solid work against Batista, who is 3-2. So, I mean, he's one of those players you do not want to count him out at all.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I don't think he's playing like a 1-4 team.
Agreed.
Saddle squad scary. Number 17, the Crazy. The Boot Smoking Rebellion. Unfortunately, not taking a win this week. But he's still looking pretty strong.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Like, I'm kind of surprised to see Lucian down this low, 2-3. But he had a really close set against a really solid team in the Blazekins. And yeah, I mean, I think we'll see how he does. So yeah, 2-3. He can still make it in with 5-3, 4-4. So yeah, and interesting to see how they do. I'll say that much.
I am too. And this is like looking at this team. I mean, I know we've looked at it for weeks, but this is such a Lucian team. Like, it's just got some crazy crap on it. That's like, I don't know. Like the whole Thwacky Blissey combo, I feel like was very thought out. And then you got mons like Archeops and Regieleki, which are just like all or nothing. Like, just go for it. And Lucian's not afraid. Like I had Archeops, I think for last season I had Archeops, and then in NBC I had Archeops. Not once did I text something crazy like a choice band or a life orb. Lucian is the guy who will do stuff like that, and that's what you gotta watch out for. And he's just got a crazy team, and you bet he's bringing that Fissure Stunfisk later in the season. I'm calling it. He's bringing that Fissure Stunfisk. I know he will.
Yeah, for sure.
But as usual, fun matches to watch. Keep it up, Lucian. Number 16, the Welsh Warlords. High too. These just like looking at this team, I'm surprised to see him down here. And I know they've played some good teams. They lost to Gert. I think did they play Otto yet?
Yeah. So he's lost to Gert, you and Otto, which 3 players that you should not be ashamed of losing to. So yeah.
And I just think his team is so strong, and it was a nightmare for me to prep for. Like it was a nightmare to prep for. There's just like I prepped so much for his fake out plus Crobat leads, but then he has the Kofagrigus, and he can go Trick Room mode. And then I want like we talked about this, like a lot of my counters to his stuff, he had counters for my counters, and vice versa, and stuff like that. Tapu Fini obviously is my freaking nemesis, and I have nightmares about it, but. But then I figured out, I've prepped for all these big threats. I still got to worry about this dang Bouffalont, which could be AV. Turns out it is AV, and it's a nightmare to go against. I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy team. Still down here. I mean, you could debatably say he almost deserved to beat me, but yeah, still down here. And I think this team is probably one of the hardest teams to prep for up front because Fake Out does nothing to stop their Tailwind or their Trick Room setter, and you don't know which one they're bringing. It's horrible.
Yeah. And again, really great team. And as you said, Tailwind, really solid mode. Trick Room, really solid mode. Drampa, Steelix. So yeah, I'm also a little surprised to see him down here, but I feel like I've said this like 10 times now, but I could see him making the comeback. So
I know, right? Yeah. Well, that's the theme. Now we're getting to the playoff race where, teams are on. They really need to win to ensure the playoffs. The top teams want to get wins to really feel comfortable later in the season and not have to stress so much about making playoffs. While some of these lower record teams need the wins to really have a chance, and they're going to fight for it. So
yeah,
this is where it really gets interesting. And I agree. I think the Welsh Warlords they can come back. Number 15, the Somerville Scraggy. I never know what to expect when I watch his games, and that's what I kind of like about watching them. I know a lot of his combos and stuff, and a lot of his things. He likes to plan out certain things. Like, I mean, there's obvious synergy on his team, but I've always felt interested. I'm always interested to seeing what he brings because I know there's intention behind it.
Yeah, and he didn't move, I don't think, from last week, at least that much, because he didn't play a set this week. But yeah, I mean, he plays 2 matches this week, and if he can capitalize, you could see him 4-2 and looking really solid. So, and yeah, as you said, he has just a lot of really solid combos. They may be a little obvious, but they're not necessarily easy to prep for. So, yeah, excited to see how he does as the season starts to close out.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll see what they can do. We had 2 matches this week. Could be 4-2. Could be 2-4. You never know. Could be 3-3. Yeah, we'll see. Number 14, the Pogging Porygons. Picking up the second loss in a row. They're on a little bit of a downhill, but that doesn't mean that they can just kick it back into gear and take some big wins. Still got a very strong. We've talked about the core of their team. They got redirection with the Firewater Grass Core, which I don't know I think Firewater Grass Core is. Well, I'm not going to debate it. I don't think you have to have a Firewater Grass Core to be good, but if you're
did you just say that?
I don't think you have to have it. I mean. I want to win this season so bad so I can say that my Firewater Grass Core is Fungus, Politoed, and Mantine. But it's probably not going to happen. But, well, anyways. I think But I do think it is good. I don't think you have to have the strongest firewater grass court to be good or one at all, but I think I think it is good to have one, and theirs is really strong. And they also have, like, and that's not even it. Like, looking at the rest of their team, like, they've utilized all these Pokemon. I'm pretty sure, definitely all these Pokemon have been utilized and well. Still got a scary team.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know what to expect of Oaktree at the beginning of the season, but he is in a really tough division, and he played two really tough players to play. So, I think he's prepped really well. I think he's played really well, and I just want to see. I think he's still got some fire left. So, and the Cinderace, which my baby. So
I agree. He's got some fire left, and he's got some water and some grass left.
Yeah.
So let's move on to number 13. South Croydon Soars still put up a really good fight. Went down to Goomer this week. They're still looking strong. They're still 3-2. I think when I look at this team, I like what they've done with the Pheromones. I think that just their offense is really scary, and I like that they've utilized the wishy-washy. They have like this trick room mode. They have Liepard stuff they can do. They have, I don't know. They got a really kind of crazy team in terms of what they can bring and the combos they can utilize.
Yeah.
I like how they've played, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end the season with a winning record.
Yeah, for sure. This is one of those teams where they take a loss and you're like, I still feel like this team could be top 10, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's really, really solid stuff. And playing top players is hard. And the fact that he's lost to the undefeated and Goomer is nothing to scoff at, especially with the really close game against Goomer. So, they've got some stuff, and really nice springs this week. And even being 3-2, dropping a little, I still feel like this is a team you absolutely have to watch out for.
I would absolutely agree. They've blown away teams, and I know they can blow away teams if you're unprepared. So he's not afraid to go with that Life Orb and DD. So, and I feel like we've been saying this so often. Every time we look at a team, we're like, this is their record, yada, yada. I still think they're really strong. But that's genuinely how every team feels. Like, every team feels so strong, and that's why I love this season of VDL. Like, every team looks so strong, and like they can beat any other team.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
So now moving on into the top half of the top 24. Number 12, the Shenandoah Sun Warriors. I really like the Corviknight pickup. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And
sure.
And I really like how they analyze matchup. They got like this weird team of misfits. They got Exeggutor. They got OG Nidoking, who is a weird mon to use. They got the Ninetales. They got Sawk. What even is Sawk? Burton Ernie.
Yep.
Emolga, who's the most disrespected and underrated tier 5. So good. I love that mon.
Facts, dude. Actual facts.
I let that mon down. The last season we had at Dynamax was probably my best VDL team. Like, I was looking back, it was so good. And that mon actually put in work, but I didn't play it well enough as I could.
Yeah.
But anyways, like they got, I don't know. I really like their team, and they got a very deep team. Keep it up. I think they can definitely are the team that can beat anybody if they really approach the matchup correctly.
For sure. And the Corviknight pickup is also super huge because on this team, you put something like a Psychic Seed, get an Iron Defense up, and dude, bodying, right? And you have Corviknight, Umbreon, crazy bulky core. You have Neo King Tauros, which with Life Orb, Sheer Force, crazy damage, but you also have that double Intimidate. You have that Tapu Lele, which is absolutely crazy. You got Sun Core. Dude, this team is crazy. I think this team is absolutely busted. It's so good. And I think they showed that this week. And so, he started out, I think, 0-2, but he's looking really solid. And he's one of those guys that, I could see making a huge run in playoffs. Like, I'm thinking right now they're making semis. So, crazy solid player and crazy solid team.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. Number 11. Sting like a Rabumbi. Having a pretty dang good season. I know
Yeah.
he talked himself down at the beginning of the season. I'm starting to think it was a ploy. Batista. And I think we're on to you now. You know
Yeah.
that this team is super strong.
Yeah.
I've said I think this is Batista's strongest monotape team. I mean, he did have
For sure.
He did have mono bug, and then he had, which actually was pretty good. But the mono poison I thought was interesting. But this team just has so many tools, and we've talked about it before. And he knows how to approach a matchup. He says things. We've all seen it in the chat where, like, he just analyzes matchups really deeply. He says certain things, and you know he's going deep into the matchup. He never goes into a matchup and is like, screw it. Let's just go for Choice Specs Drapion and hope for the best. Like, no, he's not doing that.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, if we're talking about just a crazy creative player, it's got to be Batista. And he's been showing that, man. And as you said, like, you're monotype dark and you're 11th, right? And with a 3-2 record. I mean, this is a super strong team. We also have, this is first week of the King coming back, right? Return of the King. So, yeah, dude, it's going to be, I'm excited to see how he does at the end of the season. And I'm really thinking that, he might have a playoffs run coming. So
I'm really excited for the Batista versus Inferno's matchup. I don't know why. I just feel like it's going to be interesting. I don't want to talk about it. I just think it's an interesting matchup, and I'm excited to see that. And you know it too. I'm glad you know it. Number 10, make it into the top 10. Royal Kingdra's debatably, they might be the hottest team right now.
I think so, for sure.
Because, like I said, they have the highest possible differential for a 3-2 team. Batista was 3-2 plus 0, and they're 3-2 plus 4. So, and I think their team, man, at the beginning of the season, it was looked at like they have 3 Mons that want to use EVLI potentially. And then they have like this weird, I know they made some trades, but they've got like a rain setter with a bear tick, which is pretty good. But then you have like I don't know. They do have a weird team, but also it just looks really strong, and I love it. And they're using the Registeel really well.
Yeah, I mean, Registeel's been the key, right? And I will say, bear tick is like top 5 favorite mods. So going forward, I need to see some bear tick action, like some serious crazy bear tick action. I mean, I just want to see Togepi bear tick lead, get like 2 Swords Dance off, and then bring in Pelipper. And
Only 2?
Great team though.
Only 2 Swords Dance?
I think it does get Swords Dance. Am I tripping?
I think it does.
I think it does get Swords Dance.
But only 2? That's weak.
You're right. I mean, at least 4.
Yeah. Go for the flex. Go for the 4th Swords Dance that gains you nothing. Just be like, I don't even care.
I don't even need it.
Keep it up. Doing really well. Their record and their play makes me scared to play them.
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Keep it up. They're a really hot team right now. Really, really hot. Not Heatmore hot, but they're hot. Speaking of Heatmore.
Yep. Here it comes.
The Bolton Bashers. Their team, so fun. I just love this team. And I feel like this is classic Goomer. Big win this week, by the way. I feel like this is classic Goomer.
Oh, yeah.
But he just does a good job of utilizing the weird Pokemon like Gyarados. Mm-hmm. You could say is sort of a weird Pokemon to use in Series 10. And doing great. I mean, he's got the weird. He intentionally drafted the Archazold. It's weird, but I think it's really good. I feel like the Orbeetl's really interesting. The Persian, the Heatmore.
The Heat, man.
Like literally, he's not even memeing with it. It's just looking good. And I love this. I love it because that's what draft's about.
Mm-hmm. Using
those mods,
Yeah, and I mean, Goomer is not one to be slacking in creativity. And he's shown that he's got some fire, man, and both literal and figurative.
Dude, I love prep. I just love Goomer's prep. I've said it so many times, but when we were in multi-bat with NBC, Goomer literally was like, "Let's run Fling, Flame, or Registeel," and it worked to perfection. Like what? I don't know. It was just such good. And he explained it to me. He's like, "It will actually like, what else are we gonna do? This is actually good, and it works." And like, you can't prep for that. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, don't be giving Dylan any ideas, but yeah.
Dylan, I expect the Fling, Flame, or, and if that doesn't work, quadruple Swords Dance Beartic. Better come up. But yeah, super fun team to look at. Doug Bros for life, dude. But yeah, I mean, Goomer sitting up here 3-2. Probably, honestly, his worst record. Goomer hasn't had a season where he's had more than one loss, right?
No, he had more than one loss last season.
Did he? Was he 6-2, or was he 5-3? Did he squeak? I think he was. I don't know.
I think he was 5-3.
Oh, was he?
I don't know.
Dude, I don't even remember. Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Anyway. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, his team last season was not quite as strong. Yeah, but Goomer is a player who you're always scared that he might just go like 7-1 or 8-0 in the regular season. Sure. And this season's tough. I think it's just a really, really tough season in the VDL. So
agreed.
Yep. But let's move on to number 8. The Beantown Barnacles taking their second loss in a row, but still they lose to the Trixie Tricos, one of the top teams historically in the VDL, but also this season. They also lost to you, who's not the best player. I'm just kidding.
Pretty trash, but
pretty trash.
We'll give him grace.
Pretty trash. Undefeated, pure luck.
Oh yeah.
Sharks are OP. Game Shark. But no, they lost to two really strong teams, and they have so many combos they can go with. They have redirection. They have a lot of typings they can go with. They've got physical. They've got special. They've got, I don't know. We can name so many things they have. I like how they're using the chicken nugget, and I like how they're using the cooler, the freezer cooler.
Dude, their freezer is one of the best freezers I've ever seen.
It is. Oh, I haven't seen a freezer perform as well.
Oh, agreed. And man, chicken nuggets slapping.
Normal.
It's
yeah. Chicken nuggets, it's been looking extra crispy with the normal jam. So
yeah, for sure,
super good. I don't know, and dude, I say it every week. The thumbnails, the images, dude. I want to, when I make thumbnails, I want to do that same stuff now. But then I feel like an imposter, and I feel like I'm plagiarizing its style. But it's so fun. Like I want to put like wonky, like what is it? I wanted to put like Polytoad on a thumbnail, and I was gonna put Slippy from Star Fox or something like that, or like. But dude, I just love it. Like he faced you, and he put Barney the dinosaur for. Dude, I loved it. I love it. I literally laugh out loud when I see that stuff. Like the first time I saw his thumbnail, and I was like, "What is this? Mickey Mouse with a seahorse or Mickey Mouse versus SpongeBob seahorse?" I died.
Yeah, that was so funny, dude. You know, it's funny. We don't talk about creativity in thumbnails and videos, but this man has it. He has it all. When we did the live premiere, he had a really weird intro as well. It was pretty funny.
I love that.
Yeah. He's just overall very creative person and very solid team.
Super, super fun to watch. And I'm going to talk about every week how I love the thumbnails. Even if Theo isn't in next season, and if we do this next season, I'm just going to be bringing up. I'm going to be like, yeah, but Theo's thumbnails from last season were awesome. All right, keep it up. I think they definitely are a solid. Could be a solid playoff contender, and I think they probably will be.
Oh yeah.
So let's move on to number 7. The MK Mimikus, another very hot team, I will say.
Oh yeah.
Their team. You look at it and you're like, this is a hyper offense team, and I just got to contain them. But they are not easy to contain. And
what
did they bring against Goomer? They brought the Fling Salic Berry, which was super spicy. I like how they use the Galissapod. A lot of Pokemon on their team they know how to use.
Yeah, for sure. I just think he's got some stuff, man. And he's had some really hard matchups, but he just keeps performing. And so, yeah, really solid.
Absolutely. And I love seeing the Chandelure do well because I love that Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's a team that if I were to go up, I would be scared to face him. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Number 6, the Brisbane Blazekins with this so strong, super strong core up front. You could say this is a top-heavy team, but if you were going to play a top-heavy sort of style team, this would be it.
Yeah, dude.
It's so good. And I like the Scyther pickup, too, by the way. I think it's really cool. I don't know. Really, just been consistently very strong.
Yeah. Agreed. And, there's some nice stuff here, right? One things I just thought about was you got Berserker Duraludon, right? You get a fake out, then you just launch spec steel beams, and you're sitting pretty. So, but he just has so many solid combos. I ran Clefable Blastoise, really nice. Entei Scyther was what Goomy ran last season. There's just, dude, fire. There's fire here.
There is. Like, they're looking so strong. And the only team they lost to, I think they got Serene Disgrace that week, but they also lost the Gurchins, which are the only undefeated or not the only undefeated team, one of 2 undefeated teams. And that's their only loss. They're looking so good. I just think it's really strong. I don't know. Not much more to say. Entei, my favorite fire type to use in draft and in VGC. I mean, I just think it's so freaking strong, and I like how they're using it. I mean, it might not be as strong as a Heatmore, but it's pretty darn strong. But moving on to number 5. It's this crap ass, overrated team. I don't know. I thought I didn't think. I thought it was. We must have left out the 0. I think he's ranked 50, but
I agree with that.
Dude, this season has been like it has been something of like a mid-sea. I have a rain team, but I feel like I'm out in the freaking hurricane out in the middle of the ocean every game because I just every set is so close, and my play has been all over the place. I like my game. I think I've had pretty solid game plans, but
agreed.
I keep like. I don't know. I've been playing a little all over the place, and I like barely squeaked it out of a matrix with the help of like some luck. And I mean, maybe I could have won without it. Maybe if I made better plays, but still, I don't know. I feel like I'm squeaking by, and I'm riding this wave, bro. And it's thin, and I don't know. It's a thin line. I'm running in it, but I've been pulling out wins, and I still think I got a strong team. So that's why I'm up here at number 5.
Yeah. And, I think there's something to be said that, I mean, I'm looking at my own games, and I'm way more critical of my stuff versus other people, even if they have luck. So, I think to the regular person, you've just had a nice season. You've been pulling out wins. I mean, luck's part of the game, but you've been pulling out wins. You still have had really solid prep. And, I mean, you have been crazy good in VDL and in draft. So, I very much think this 5 spot is deserved, and I think your team's sick, dude. So,
I don't know if this is my strongest team, but this is one of the most fun teams I think I've had. Maybe the most fun. I love this team. I'm sad, but the season's gonna be over. But Doug Rose for life. Anyway,
Doug Rose.
Anyway, let's move on. Number 4, the Old English Ice Cube.
Dude,
another hot team.
Yeah. And, I mean, I said this in chat. Gert is my personal favorite to win this league. I mean, he just, he's had a loss, but he has looked so solid, man. And his team is absolutely crazy. He's got some nice stuff. And so, 4-1 plus 5, 4 spot, very much deserved. And he's basically almost in playoffs. He just needs one more win. So he squeaks out that win and then into playoffs and in for a really cool run. So excited to see how he closes it out. And, we'll see.
Absolutely agree. Love watching his matches. Love seeing what he brings. He can bring so many different things. And, dude, the Skarmory. The Skarmory. Best bird in the freaking draft. Really well done. I feel like entered the VDL, everybody always regarded Gert as this really strong player. And then I think, last season he was left out for most of the season, but he turned it on. Like he picked up a team and then beat a couple undefeated teams. I feel like right now we are seeing what Gert how he can do, and he's scary right now.
Yeah, and we talked about this. He beat 2 undefeated teams last season with a replacement team, and he's got an undefeated team this week. So, we'll see how that goes. But I'm thinking next couple of weeks, Gert could very easily be top 3, and maybe even number 1. Right? Like, I mean, he has looked really solid. So, just incredible player, and really, really solid stuff. So,
absolutely. And I mean, all you gotta do is bring Skarmory. Skarmory 1v6. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Easy GGs. Yeah.
GGs. Number 3, the Trixie Tricos, which I have as my personal top 4-1 team. They have a great differential, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But I really think, I just think their play, like, I like how I've played when I don't know, I can be critical, but when I watch myself and I watch the Trixie Tricos feel like they are in control usually when they play. They feel so solid and their play is so consistent. It's impressive.
Sure.
It's impressive. And I know Otto only does 5 minutes of prep every week,
That's all I need, man, to be looking like fire.
And he just looks super solid. And
yeah,
his teams, he's not bringing like any super obvious combos, but he always brings these thick, dense, full rosters that are just hard to play around and manage through. So I don't know, just
Scarf Dundee.
And Scarf Dundee, and you love it. And Goomy's a fan.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I'm a fan of you, if you bring Scarf, I mean, easy top 3s, right? I put 05s in top 3s because of their Scarf usage. I mean, that's my power ranking. So, really solid stuff, and
So tune in next week for Scarf Delmise.
Yeah, dude, if you Scarf Delmise, I don't care what his record is. He's going number 1. I mean,
he falls 0-2. He falls 0-2 to my little sister, and you still put him number 1.
100%. I mean, dude, Scarf Allred, Scarf Delmise, and Scarf Salazzle should be his last 3 weeks, and yeah, I mean, he could be 4-4 by that point, and I'm still putting him number 1. So.
Doing well as usual. Otto, so consistent and so strong in the VDL.
Oh, yeah.
Up here, number 3, well deserved. Keep it up.
Yeah, facts.
Number 2, one of 2 undefeated teams here. Gonna be honest, I put the Gurchins number 1.
I did too.
Now, it's a little weird because you haven't played yet. So it's essentially like, because if you lose, Gurchins are probably number 1.
Yes.
But if you win, I think there's a debate for who's number 1. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
And, I mean, we've talked about it in our council, but at the same time, he's been looking like fireman, and even if he isn't the number 1 spot, everyone knows he's a top 2 team right now, and if you're playing him, you are going all hands on deck because he's a credible player, incredible prep, and doesn't matter if he's number 1 or 2, you're still fearing him, man.
Yep, absolutely. He just, I don't know, and he's utilized some crazy. I mean, I love seeing how he used the Regice the 1 week, and he utilized. I think it was the crit Inteleon. But the snipe shots were super cool. Inteleon's a Pokemon I don't really consider drafting in Series 10. I think I don't know. It's just it feels weird because I love it. I love it in Dynamax, and I just feel like, I don't know. Without Dynamax, I feel I struggle to want to draft it, but he's used it super well.
Yeah.
And then the Zapdos has just been like the team captain. It's awesome. And speaking of team captain, he's got the Pincurchin, so I can't wait to see that thing come out. And
Return of the King for him as well. solid trade. And it doesn't matter what you have on your team. If you have your mascot, you you deserve a top spot. So there you go.
Absolutely. I think you're right. So let's move on to the number one team. Still at number one.
Who's this? Who's this guy? This guy carried by Garnado. No debate about it. And yeah.
I mean, you've been kicking butt with the Sharpedo, and that makes me want to rank you higher. I love Sharpedo, and I think I think not only do I love it, but I think it's underrated, and I think you've used it well. Super solid team. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, these top two teams that are both undefeated, like you haven't played yet, but I don't know. You're just looking really strong, and I mean, I think it's no question that you two are the top teams. I think you might make an argument for Auto as well, but I think it's you and the Gurchins right now, and they're sort of you and him are both 1 and 2. I don't know. I feel like there's so much to say about it. Your team and how you play, and you've got this nice combo with Shargarnado or whatever, but it's really not something you can just prep for and counter. There's not an easy counter to it because there's a lot that combo can do, and I think that's why it's so good. You've utilized the Vikavolt super well. The Magmortar is still a threat, a good fire type. Heracross, love it. Classic. Freaking rep.
Yeah.
Heracross, big time trying to rep the bugs.
Rep Womble. I mean, that's Womble's favorite, like Mont. So I've been doing stuff for our commissioner,
Dude, how great was it when Silver and Gold version came out, and they were like, finally, a bug Pokemon that can just beat people's ass. Like,
when I was not even born yet, and Heracross came out, I was like, man, I'm drafting this in 17, 18 years. So yeah.
Wait, when Heracross came out, you weren't born? Oh my gosh, dude.
I don't think so, actually. Yeah,
dude,
I wasn't born when Gold and Silver came out.
Dude, I got the Silver version. Goomer got the Gold version. We freaking played the Game Boys with the Wormlight. He always had the Heracross, and he loved it. And the thing was ferocious, dude. But I don't know. You're looking really strong. You still got the old classic Ludicolo on the team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I've felt really solid about this season. As we talked about with your when we went over your slide, like it's easy to be critical of yourself, but I've gotten the wins. I felt like I have played in prep pretty well, and what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to make like 10 different teams, and it's just going to be my template for the rest of the season. And it'll just be Garchomp, Tornado, Sharpedo, and every single match will start with those 3 mounts. So, I love this team, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see if you can stay number one. I know you don't want all the pressure, but hey, it's got to feel a little good to be number one. So
I don't know. I kind of like, I kind of would like to go. I just love that. I love to see, because every single season I felt like I've been getting better and better, and that's been clear by my placements. But no, this is a season where I want to be like, I win 8-0, right? I was one of 2 people to go 8-0, so that'd be cool. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right then, that should conclude the top 24.
Yep.
I don't know if you don't like your placement, it's because it's rigged. And
yep.
But congrats to some of the teams that are doing hot, and some of the teams that aren't doing so hot. Kick it into gear. You still have a chance to make playoffs. Most of you, I think, really everybody does. Almost. I think. So.
And I mean, I wouldn't even count yourself out if you're 0-5. Last season there was an 0-5, and the only reason he wasn't in contention was because he hadn't won a single game. Regardless of set, he hadn't won a single game. So even if you've had some close games, you've had some close sets, don't count yourself out, because who really knows what could happen this season. And I think that's the importance. We are in this final stretch of weeks, and it's time to put your A game. It's time to put what you got and make that final stretch for playoffs.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This is when the playoff race really gets intense, when it really gets spicy.
Yeah.
So I guess, anyone who watched the video, I hope you enjoyed it. These power rankings is always fun. Thanks, Goomy. I love having you.
Yeah. Fun.
And I guess best of luck to everybody in week 6.